Huh? Iron Man should have been a failure? Welcome to Comic Basics. I'm Joel, and today's episode, why wasn't the 2008 Iron Man movie a failure? After all, it should have been. It's been said that the stock market can't be predicted. Instead, to achieve any semblance of success, those who try it need an understanding of fluctuation, timing, and market conditions. Even then, there are no certainties. Looking back, the same can be said about the MCU. Who could have predicted that after the release of 2008's Iron Man movie, the future of cinema would rely heavily on costumed heroes? Think about it. The Iron Man movie launched a revolution. Sure, Christopher Reeves and Superman found success decades before it. Hell, even X-Men charted new territory a number of years ahead of it. However, of the many successful and unsuccessful attempts at superheroes, Iron Man was a game changer. 10 years and over 20 extremely successful movies later, and it's hard to believe that the Iron Man movie was a risk. At its release, superhero-fronted movies didn't do too well at the box office, save for X-Men, Batman, and Superman. But even they didn't last. The Christopher Reeves-led Superman movies got worse with time, X-Men plateaued at X2 and crashed to Earth with X-Men The Last Stand, and Batman, well, let's not talk about anything that didn't include Michael Keaton or Christian Bale. Iron Man was different. Iron Man didn't have the A-list allure that Batman, Superman, and the X-Men did. By all accounts, Iron Man was a B-list character whose movie should never have seen the light of day. Aside from an ill-fated cartoon, Iron Man never really achieved mainstream popularity. In fact, up until 2008, most comic book fans knew him as a character that battled alcohol addiction. How could Marvel, with all their creations, place Iron Man as a leader of their revolution? Sure, they didn't own the cinematic rights to Spider-Man, the Fantastic Four, and the X-Men, but why Iron Man? Surely there was another hero they could call upon. Of course there was, but that wasn't the plan. I think about this often, and I always circle back to two things. First, Marvel had nothing to lose. And second, by taking a lesser-known character, they decreased the risk of fan backlash. Marvel really did have nothing to lose. This was a company who just a decade earlier filed for bankruptcy. By the mid-2000s, the company was still floundering to find its way. It had dominated comic sales for many decades, but then, after the 90s boom, which it so proudly fanned the flames on, it couldn't muster the strength to get out of bed. To say their situation was bad doesn't quite describe what happened. The company had its stock drop from $35.75 in 1993 to just $2.37 in 1996. It's been said that the most dangerous animals went backed into a corner. Marvel, after the 90s, was backed into a corner and had nothing left to lose. Using Iron Man also provided the company a chance to try something new without fear of prejudice from those who supported them most. Not only did they not own the rights to anything mainstream, most mainstream products had been done many times before, each with varying degrees of success. Worse yet, those same mainstream characters who had their chance to shine in cinema had their origins rehashed more times than I wish to count. Thankfully, Marvel understood this. By using a character that so very few knew of, they positioned themselves to be able to tell their own story without fear of prejudice. The most important of these being the choice to cast well-known Hollywood reject, Robert Downey Jr. Hindsight is always 20/20, and the casting proved to be very fruitful for both parties. This doesn't, however, take away the fact it was a risk. RDJ, as he's known in the media, was fresh off a series of drug arrests. Early in his career, he had cemented himself as one of the finest actors in Hollywood. Unfortunately, during the latter part of the 90s, he too struggled. His struggles, unlike those in Marvel, were addiction-based. When he was cast as Tony Stark, nobody gave him a chance. Peculiarly, here was Marvel, fresh off of bankruptcy, casting a known drug addict. By all accounts, choosing RDJ should have backfired, but it didn't. His performance was one of the standouts of the film. At the end of the movie, as if some sort of foreshadowing, he proudly proclaimed, "I am Iron Man." And he was right. He was Iron Man. The Iron Man movie released to critical and commercial acclaim. The superhero bar had been set by the recently released Spider-Man and X-Men movies. Iron Man firmly picked up the bar and moved it. And with the bar moved, came the birth of the MCU. The weekend after Iron Man came out, Marvel knew they had done it. Of the $140 million budget it cost to make the movie, they had domestically recouped $100 million of it. The movie would go on to gross north of $585 million, netting Marvel $445 million. By today's superhero standards, grossing $445 million seems like something not worth bragging about. However, for a studio looking to A, establish itself, and B, prove that the world wanted its heroes, it was a huge accomplishment. Iron Man did everything that Marvel needed it to do. It ushered in a new age of movies that comic book fans all over the world patiently waited for. It's easy to look back and think that Marvel knew what would happen after its release. However, I don't think they did. Like the person who plays the stock market, they hit the right timing and coupled it with the perfect market conditions. And now, the world is better for it. As I always do with these in-depth character looks, I'm going to leave you with this. Comic books are the gateway to understanding the world just a little bit better. So may they be around forever. I hope you enjoyed that, and if you did, please hit that subscribe button. Thanks for coming out, I hope you'll come back, and until then, I'll catch you next time.